Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Radical SR8 Championship here at the Circuit of the Americas for the first of our two endurance rounds here this season. It's a 10-round season, started all the way back in early December, by the way, in case you've not been with us so far, but this will bring us to the halfway mark, after which there'll be 5 more rounds, one of which will be an endurance race. If you have seen the other ones previous to this one, then you'll notice that tonight is going to be very, very different indeed. Just one qualifying session as normal, 10 minutes, but then just the one race as well, which will be 60 minutes in length with fuel limited, so that everybody will have to make a fuel stop at some point in the evening. Myself, Ian Delirious, and James Parfitt will be taking you through the action this time around. Good to be back in this championship, actually. James, looking forward to this again. It's a different format, though. 1 hour-long race here at Circuit of the Americas, which, by the way, we must make clear, in case you don't like it, it's John McCutcheon's choice. That must be abundantly clear.
Steph throw under the bus before we even got anywhere. We ain't even in qualifying. John's fault. Listen, John has had an input on the calendar. That's sort of known within the league as well. John helps with the SR8, so he's had an input on the calendar. So he picked this one for the endurance round as well. I've got to admit, I'm not a lover of this circuit. It's a very lazy man's designer circuit. Basically, it's a makeup of other circuits. You've got Hockenheim in there, you've got Silverstone in there, you've got Adelaide in there, and I just kind of see it as we need a circuit, let's throw one together and pinch one from it, and pinch bits from other circuits to make it work. I don't know. I'm not a lover of it, but I'm hoping that the action takes place.
What's been stolen from Adelaide from here? I didn't know about that.
Yeah, was it Adelaide? I'm sure it's Adelaide. Hold on.
I know Silverstone, definitely Silverstone is there because of the S's. Or it's sort of like Silverstone Suzuka style, isn't it?
I'm sure sector. It is the bottom hairpin on the right-hand side of the track map. Hold on.
Oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. Yeah, let's see. Yeah.
Hold on now. I'm on it now.
If only they had the corner before that, which is a fantastic corner on Adelaide, by the way. But no, they don't have that here. Instead, we've got all we've got. Yeah, Istanbul is definitely one of them as well. The long right-hander, the way you sort of do 180 degrees, basically, through turns 17 and 18. That is definitely from Istanbul Park as well. And then you've got the S in the first sector. But yeah, it's a bit of a mashup of different circuits. And it really doesn't get very much praise, to be honest.
That's because it's not very nice.
I don't love it. No.
So the designs were Sepang, Shanghai. So with the assistance of German architect and circuit designer Hermann Teich, who's apparently designed other circuits, but he has done Hockenheimring and apparently reprofiled Fuji. But I'm sure it was Silverstone, Adelaide, the Mercedes Arena, the Mercedes corner at Hockenheim, as well, was obviously on there for turn number 15. 15, yeah, turn 15. So yeah, there's a few circuits made out. I'm trying to find the list actually. I did have the list saved, but now, as per normal when it comes to things like that, I've forgotten what it was. It is. Hold on, I'll keep looking. You carry on, sir.
Yeah, I can't quite find what exactly. Maybe it's just unofficially, because you might get copyrighted, to be honest, for copying somebody on a circuit like that. So maybe there would be some sort of problem with that. Anyway, let's go through the standings before we go any further. John McCutcheon leading the way at the moment by quite some distance, actually, over Luke Maxwell. 40 points there. Ewan Bremer's third ahead of Paul LeMay. Only a point between those. Then it's Jamie Bird who rounds out the top 5 with Eric Harmon in 6th place. Lucas Ferrer is 7th ahead of Stefan Mellis in 8th. Then Mike Busson and then Graham Matthew. They round out the top 10. Paul Crabb is the first driver with less than 100 points. David Roston just behind him. Menno de Graaf, Richard Jones, Paul Clark, the only drivers to have scored points so far this season. Still got a few in the system who may well turn up at some point throughout the season, but haven't done so just yet. Maybe you get copyrighted, to be honest, for copying another circuit. So I think they sort of unofficially copied some of the parts, but this is definitely a little bit like Silverstone or Suzuka. This S's section at the start, and then that long right-hander as well is meant to be a bit like Istanbul Park, and the long left-hander there, I think, down towards the end of the lap. So yeah, this circuit does get a lot of stick, that's for sure. I don't love this circuit, but I do seem to like it more than other people. I don't mind it. It is very tricky, but I do think it actually produces good racing. It's a bit underrated in that sense, especially in the final sector. The amount of different lines you can take right the way down from turn 12, which is the big braking zone at the end of this back straight here. We're following the guys go down now. And all the way through there, right the way down to turn 16, where there's a really open left-hander at slow speed hairpin. I think that doesn't get quite enough credit, personally. So we'll see how the racing is tonight, but I think the last sector is decent for racing, and hopefully we get a show of that tonight.
Well, hopefully we will do. Right, I found the list. You ready?
Go on, yeah.
The designs draws from several European Formula One circuits, including a recreation of Silverstone's Beckett's Chapel, Hockenheim's Arena Bends, and a replica of Istanbul's Turn 8. I love this wording. Other corners were loosely inspired by the CNRS's at Interlagos, Turn 4 at the Buddha International Circuit, and Turns 9 and 10 of Bahrain. The latter two tracks also, funny enough, were designed by the same designer. So it is an Adelaide. That's my mistake. There is an Adelaide on a circuit, though, and I can't remember which one it was. So we've got Silverstone, Hockenheim, Istanbul, Interlagos, Buddha International, and Bahrain. So I'm
interested to know where the Interlagos bit is in. I can't work out that at all.
CNRS's. So that would be...
Yeah, the first three corners, but where's that on this circuit? I can't work that out.
Right, hold on. So you're looking at... What does it do? It goes,
7, 8, 9?
It goes left and right, doesn't it? So you're looking at, 7, 8, 9.
There.
Possibly you could go 5, 6, 7. But it's in that middle patch. You've got 3, 4, 5 would be Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel. Then you've got from 5, 6, 7, 8 possibly CNRS's, and then that would be it. So it's designed on multi-circuits, basically. It's not even an original design. Which sucks. So
I think that makes sense. So it is complicated. Although I must say, Turn 1 here is very unique, and if you were to do this kind of thing again and mash up circuits, you might take Circuit of the Americas Turn 1, because it is very unique. It's really steeply uphill, and then straight steeply back down again as you go around the hairpin up there at Turn 1. This is the sort of Hockenheim Arena section, I guess they're talking about. You can see it's great for grandstands, great to watch, and hopefully great for racing, as we'll hopefully show a little bit later on. But this is the sort of arena section. Then you've got this Istanbul-inspired right-hander. Instead of going left as it does in Turkey, goes right here all the way around. 180 degrees, a little bit lower speed as well, a little bit tighter. But then you get into the final couple of corners. Of course, famous for in one certain IndyCar race. I don't know if you saw this. It was quite a long time ago. But they one event they had here just said, well, track limits don't really matter. We won't enforce the white lines or whatever. You can go where you like, expecting that they would all stay on the circuit anyway. But absolutely not. They all ran out very, very wide indeed through the penultimate corner, and so that's his forever etched in my mind anyway as I look at those final two corners. But thankfully we have the track limits properly here, and I'll bring that up again as well, because off-tracks around here are a bit of a nightmare. It's so easy to run off the circuit. Everyone's going to be wary of that today.
Yeah, it's kind of Red Bull Spa-esque with off-tracks. You sneeze at a curb, you get an off-track. So they've got to be very, very careful here. This is the thing that this type of circuit does sort of lend itself to, is the fact that the off-tracks are quite tricky. So that's going to be an interesting thing for them to try and muster and make sure that they get through. They've got the 17, and then they get the drive-through, and then they get, I think it's like 25 DQ. But I wouldn't expect any of these drivers that we've got here to get that many, I think, to be honest. They're all experienced SR radical drivers, and I wouldn't really worry about it. I think Paul Clark drives them in real life as well. So, I wouldn't really worry about them getting major off tracks. Going back to one of the events that you were talking about with your IndyCar, NASCAR run here. And I watched one of the races from the NASCAR at COTA. I can tell you what, off tracks aren't even a thing. They were literally cutting as many and as much of corners as I've ever seen it in my entire life, literally. And yet they just got away with it. But when you're trying to turn heavy house bricks, I suppose it's a bit difficult to keep it on the track at the best of times.
Yes. I would have thought so. Ewan Bramer is going well in this session, by the way. 3/10 of a second quicker than anybody else so far. John McCutson's in the background, though, and he's going to go quicker by just 37 thousandths of a second. It looks like it could be between those two for the win in this race because they're about a second clear of the rest of the field. Paul Crabb goes over the line there. He's a second off the pace in third.
Yeah, Mike Booston as well. Gotta love Mike's philosophy to racing. As of, I think it was like, what time was it? 5 to 1 in the afternoon. Mike had not even bought the track.
Mikey.
Yeah, so he just rocks up and away we go. Julian Rees was out in practice. He's not out in qualifying, so I'm wondering if he's even going to take to the start on that one. So yeah, Mike had only just bought the track, so I'm not quite sure when he managed to do that, probably after work. That would explain that.
Yes, it would rather. As we have a look at down the hill, running down the hill here, it's a number of drivers who are going slowly and then someone going backwards. That's Stefan Mellis, who's gone for a spin there. Was he at full speed? I can't think not actually, but he just spun up the rears.
I think he did what Mike
to
did.
The inside of the road.
Yeah, I think he did what Mike did and hit that curb on the inside there, and unfortunately it just bumped him up in the air. So unfortunately for Stefan, Graham Matthews are both off at that part of a circuit. To be honest, neither of them are really going to get any more in. It'll be what Menno de Graaf can do going round turn 12, coming into 13 and 14. He's got 10 seconds. I don't think he's going to get there. Going to be close whether or not Ewan Bramer's actually going to get there. 4, 3, 2, 1. Toss. Give on nearly. So there we go.
He did.
He did.
Yeah, it looks like he did. So can he produce one lap time at the end? It's a good chance actually for us to follow a whole lap actually with somebody here, because it's only going to be he surely who can challenge John McCutcheon now for a pole position. Now down the hill we go, running round turn 2. It's absolutely flat out. Then in towards the Silverstone S's, if you like. Pretty high speed in this high downforce car, just down to 4 through the last left-hander there. Now the double rights there at turn 6. Get to the right here to open out turn 7 as much as possible. This is sort of like a reverse into Lagos turns 1, 2 and 3. We're following our track discussion from earlier. Then opening out this corner, very important, through turn 9. You get the slingshot down the hill, and I still think this looks like Adelaide turn 9, to be honest with you. But I agree with you now. I didn't see it before, but now I do. Down into the hairpin. Decent chance to overtake, but it's not a big straight beforehand. It's about getting the exit from here, and then this is where we're going to see a lot of the overtakes. Ewan Bramer not happy with himself. He's going to return to pit lane.
Yeah, going to bump off to pit lane. We should get that session rolling on very, very shortly. Hopefully there isn't any issues with the sessions. It is just a straight 60 minutes up after that, and away they go. So it should just swap over into the race when it wants to do that.
Let's hope so. I may have broken things here. Let's
Hold on, I'm on it.
Okay. We'll try and get things fixed, but yes, not something that normally happens actually. The last driver pitting in instead of carrying on to the very end of the lap to end the session. So I think multiple drivers did it as well. So it looks like we're going to have to wait just for a moment for the. I mean, he's going to get a very sore arm, isn't he? There on the front straight, waving that vigorously to absolutely nobody. Anyway,
Barney doing his bit.
Yes, and he's going to have very strong forearms at the end of all that. There's the big tower. There he is again, still going. He's not quite realised that everybody's finished, and he can probably stop waving that now. But he's still going. There we go.
He won't. That's the thing. Right, hold on. Let me see if I can
We're
bump
just-
it forward. I do have to bring up the UI. I do deeply apologise about that.
Luckily, we are in control of the session, which doesn't normally happen when we're broadcasting, I must say.
No, it doesn't. Session already finishing. Okay, that's good and all,
Okay.
but can we bump it up?
Looks like we're just going to have to wait. There is a sort of timer of the maximum amount of time that it allows you to do a qualifying session for. There you go, and it will now go forward. So everyone will get a couple of minutes to get onto the grid, and we'll get underway for an hour of racing. It's John McCutcheon who's taken pole position by a small margin over Ewan Bramer. Paul Crabb and Jamie Bird weren't separated by much, but they're over a second off pole. Mike Buston and Paul Clark are sharing row 3. Ahead of Paul LeMay and Menno de Graaf. It's Stefan Mellis and then Graham Matthew, the final drivers, to have set times. It's Julian Race rounds out the top 11, and that is because he didn't set a time. He will get onto the grid, though, so that is a good thing. For once, John McCutcheon's onto the grid pretty early as well, as is Mike Booston. They're absolutely on it this afternoon, it looks like. So, 1 hour ahead of us here tonight in the Radical SR8 Championship, one of 2 endurance races in this 10-race season, and we're underway. It's a good start for Ewan Bramer, even better there from Mike Booston, who comes flying through from the third row of the grid to the outside line. McCutcheon and his teammate goes on the defensive there in towards turn 1, and he holds on to the lead ahead of Ewan Bramer. Then it's Paul Crabb, Mike Booston who's in 4th place, Jamie Bird who's 5th, and the 6 of them behind as well getting through cleanly. It's a clean start from all of the drivers on this opening lap.
Yeah, no dramas whatsoever. Great run out from Mike Bousson, up 1. Paul LeMay up 1. Stefan Mellis up 1 as he's ahead of Menno de Graaf, Graham Matthews and Julian Rees. But John McCutcheon did what he had to do. Even Bramer's got off the line as well. Great job from him. So no real dramas. And as I say that, there is Mike Bousson going the opposite direction. Did he do the same thing he did?
Turn 9.
Same thing he did in
That's
practice?
a real shame. See, it looks like it might be something similar. He's a bit wide initially on the apex, steps on the power, didn't get on the curb, but he did go for a spin. He was just a bit too heavy on the right foot, and so he's got a lot of work to do now to get up to the rest. McCutcheon still leads though, ahead of Bramer, then Crabb, Bird and LeMay rounding out the top 5. They'll all be single file on the way down towards turn 12 for the first time by the looks of things. In fact, the whole top 10 are single file on the way in this time, although there's carnage in the background. Graham Matthews seems to have been involved in it, along with Stefan Mellis, Menno de Graaf dropping down. Let's see what happened here. Paul Clark looks like he might have been involved as well. Now, who hit who? Is the question down here. Clark on the
Mellis.
Oh, he's just got clipped. He just got clipped there by Mellis. And they all get away with it eventually, but the bottom 5 there, if you like, oh dear. And they made contact again as it was, well, I don't know who that was, but yeah, it was, yeah. Someone made contact with Clark coming back on. Now, who was that?
Julian
Clark
Rees.
just drives straight into the side of somebody there.
Julian Rees, unfortunately. Yeah,
Well,
that's dropped a couple of down.
Good news for Mike Booston. He's already back up to 9th place, so he's made up a couple of places without having to do anything really off of the start there. There is Graham Matthew, who will be trying to catch Stefan Mellis and Menno de Graaf just up in front, but it's created a big gap in the field because of the opening lap and the carnage that there was at times.
Yeah, we've got groups at the moment. So you've got 1 and 2, Ewan Bramer, John McCutcheon, they're kind of grouped together. Paul Crabb's only 6 steps back. Then you've got a second back to Jamie Bird and Paul LeMay, 5 back to Menno de Graaf, Stefan Mellis, Graham Matthews. Then you've got Mike Bousson, Paul Clark near each other, and unfortunately Julian Rees is a little bit further back. But Jamie Bird under deep pressure from Paul LeMay coming into turns 11. Left-hander is going to allow him to have the space, and Paul LeMay takes that away.
Here we go through the back straight. Jamie Bird is going to have a good chance now ahead of Paul LeMay, who's going to go defensive. Just look at him going to the middle of the road there on the way down towards turn 12. Slightly defensive, but not really. And Jamie Bird just tucks in. Says, I'm not going to get through there. Here comes Mellis versus Graham Matthew as well down the straight, by the way. Graham Matthew with a good run, and he's got the inside line. That's exactly, or he's got the outside line, I should say. Mellis on the inside. He took a slightly weird line, I've got to say, but he held on to 7th place at least. And Matthew going to have to give it a go somewhere else, and doesn't look like he's going to be able to do it through these slow corners here either. This left-hander, by the way, is a good chance down at turn 16. It's so slow, but you open out the corner there, trying to get a good exit, that it does allow chances sometimes, but not this time for Graham Matthew.
You know the weirdest thing? I'm sure in that incident with Paul Clark, Mellis's nose went flying.
Yeah.
It did, didn't it? I wasn't just imagining. Oh, Graham Matthews way too hot. Going into the final corner, he's going to have to go again. Ewan Bramer side by side with John McCutcheon as they run round turn 1 down the hill for 2.
Well, his warning of his rear wing there, John McCutcheon, is not being listened to by Ewan Bramer at the moment here as they go in towards the S's. He was looking at turn 1 especially at a move, but he couldn't quite do it. McCutcheon's a bit offline here, and once you're offline through one point, you'll be offline through the rest of it, but he's got the dirty air here as Bramer, and so he can't quite take advantage. Now he's on a different line. This is the great thing about this first sector. So many different lines to be taken. Then through turn 8, now through 9. He's got a good exit. He's been taking a different line from about turn 3, and eventually about half a minute later he's going to get the benefit here. Oh, he had a look down the inside at turn 11 there, but he didn't quite have the bravery to do it, knowing that there's still a long way to go.
Yeah, and we've still got this long straight as well coming up for Ewan Bramer. He's now just got to lock onto the back, and he's got to try and get there if he can. We're going to start closing in at a rapid rate of knots. Here we go. He's going to go left. Is he going to take the move? He's not. He's going to sit in behind for now. And you can see the problem is these two sort of not fighting but squabbling like two teenagers almost. Is bringing other people into it. Jamie Bird and Paul LeMay are catching up. Matthews and Buson are going side by side into turn to number 12. Buson does make it through, so Matthews is going to try and play catch up, but he has got the looming Hi-Fi Lounge Mr. Paul Clark coming at him as well. But you can see this gap up front now has gone down to about 2.5 to 3 seconds, I believe, back to Jamie Bird, so it's not drastic at the moment.
No, not just yet, as they make their way into the final corner and out onto the front straight again. There's the full spread of the field on the left-hand side. You mentioned earlier on, or I think somebody did, about the fuel limit that these guys have this time around, James, because it's an endurance round. Have you got any idea as to how limiting that's going to be and when they might have to make a pit stop here tonight?
50% should give them to about 35 minutes. That's what it should give them to, and then they will have to come in for a pit stop. So it's going to be around about 35-40 minutes mark, and then they're going to have to come in after that. The problem is we give recommendations, but everybody's consumption is different. Like mine in this car would be different to John's, because John's a hell of a lot quicker than I am. So yeah, should be 35 to 40 minutes. We might see them in a little bit earlier, but we'll see how they get on and when the cycle starts.
Yeah, so it doesn't give them a whole load of wiggle room at 35 minutes. You know, we're not going to see a race, for example, where they can do 50 minutes and they can start pitting from the end of the next lap. That's not going to happen. It's going to be a lot more uniform than that. Here comes Ewan Bramer, though. He's got a better chance into turn 12, and I get the feeling he wants to make this move at turn 12. He didn't want to do it at turn 11 last lap, but he might want to go at the end of the back straight. They're very close through the left-hander there. There's a bit of a lock-up in the background as well. Best seats in the house there for Crabb and LeMay as they close in on the two leaders fighting away. McCutcheon holds the inside line and gets the place back, and Bramer doesn't want to dive through 15 and 16, so John McCutcheon hangs on to the lead again, but that was decently close between he and Ewan Bramer, and that allows Crabb and LeMay to get involved now as well.
Do you know what? Knowing John as long as we have up here in JPB, you can guarantee he is uttering the words that are on his wing right now to Ewan Bramer. Yeah. He is sitting there thinking, we can pull away here, stop doing this. And Bramer's like, nah, I'm having some of you, son. Paul LeMay, fastest lap of the race, 58.598. There is a point for the fastest lap and a point for Pole. So Pole at the moment was Mr. McCutcheon. So he will get the point for that, and then the fastest lap as well. But yeah, I can guarantee John is sitting in that car going, Ewan, back off. Like, just let's pull away, let's pull away. The problem is they've got this coming at them now. Oh, crap.
Wow.
Okay, they might not be coming up for very long because LeMay could not clear him that time around. So unfortunately for Paul LeMay, he's going to have to wait and sit and hold tight. But yeah, they've got these two coming flat out at them as well. And why they continue to fight, these guys are only going to get closer. We've got that middle pack starting to close up. Bird's dropping off just a little bit here, but we have got Menno de Graaf, who's slowly coming into the clutches of Mellis, who again is coming into the clutches of Mike Buisson, with Graham Matthew and Paul Clark in behind them. So they're starting to close back up. Mike is obviously one of the faster guys here. Stefan Mellis and Menno de Graaf and Graham Matthews and Julian Rees are around the same pace, but it is looking like we could end up with a little bit of a fruity battle as the race goes on.
I think Buisson's going to be disappointed he spun early on, because I think he could have been involved in the top 5 if he had just kept it clean early on here, but unfortunately he's gone for that spin, and that's very much defined his race here. Just approaching 10 minutes gone now in this race this evening. It should be around 30 laps. We'll see how quick the pace is and just how much battling there is. And that'll depend on whether we get 29 laps or 30 or more. We'll see on that front, but it is going to be a long race to just settle in for here, and it could be a very long battle if these two continue on like this. John McCutcheon versus Ewan Bramer, and John McCutcheon's handed the lead there to Ewan Bramer. Surely there's going to be a lead change here. He sets the fastest lap to Bramer, and surely this is going to be the lead here. I thought that slide would cost McCutcheon more time than it has, to be honest. And into turn 1, he's held the lead, but and off goes LeMay. It's Crab. LeMay gains the place. Crab has gone for a spin at turn 1 as well. It's all going on here at the end of the first 10 minutes.
Yeah, Crab went round now. Crab's in the back there. You can see the clutches of Mr. Jamie Bird. So unfortunately for him, but this is what happened to Crab going up into 1. Was there a dive from Paul LeMay that's caused this? The problem with turn 1 is so multi-lined, and I say that because you can take different lines. That is him all on his own, and unfortunately Julian Rees, I think, has also had a moment. That's just getting the power down too early, that one on there, and I think he ends up spinning that car up at the same time. So there you go, around goes Julian. But yeah, I think with turn 1 it's so multi-lined. You can either take it really tight like John did, or you could open it up like Ewan Bramer did on that last lap, and you saw John managed to hold on to the lead, but not quite sure how, whether or not Ewan was lifting to allow him to carry it on here.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think he was going for it, to be honest. I think he was going for it, but you just never know, really. It's difficult to tell. Through the final sector they go. You can see the chances that are just presented by this circuit as Buisson goes ahead of Mellis, by the way. Mellis goes on the defensive on the inside line, but Buisson with the outside line should have the position because he'll have the inside for 13, and that should give him 7th place. It certainly does. Menno de Graaf will be next up for Mike Buisson, but then look at the gap that Buisson's got to try and catch up. Mellis not quite done just yet either, but Buisson firmly shuts that door, and he is now 7th for sure. So Buisson has got some catching to do on de Graaf, then he's got a pass to make, and then look at the amount of catching he's got to do after that. That's why he'll be ruining this spin so much. That
will be a pit stop strategy for Mike. It's got to be. There's no other way that he's going to be able to overturn that. The times aren't quite quick enough to be able to catch up with these guys. Jamie Bird and Ewan and Paul Crab, are coming down through 1 now, dropping in to the Silverstone S's, I suppose. We can call it on this one, as they go left and then right. Bird closing in. Different lines. You see, everybody's got kind of a different line through that part of that sector of the race circuit.
Yeah, they have, and Buisson's gone off again, by the way. He's just lost his position back to Mellis again. But yeah, that's why I think this circuit is a lot more interesting than people give it quite credit for, because you can take so many different lines and get a run, as we've seen from Bramer on a couple of occasions in the lead battle, for example. This is what happened to Buisson. So difficult over the top of the crest there. I know Mellis locked up and broke late. I don't think he made contact with Buisson. I think he just did that on his own, Mike.
Yeah, that's a Paul Crab-esque manoeuvre. And now you can see Crab under attack from Bird. You can see LeMay closing in up the front as well. They're side by side. There goes Crab, and coming into turn at number 12. Bird's going to have that inside line. Is he going to open it up on Crab just to block him off? He does, gets the job done. Jamie Bird up into 4th.
Oh no! Contact! And they both go round. Crab just misjudged it. He got into the rear of Bird and they both spin round. They'll lose about 5-6 seconds each, and the front three will really gallop away now. That was a bit careless, it looked like, from Paul Crab. He just seemed to completely misjudge the length of his own car there as he got into the back of Jamie Bird.
Yeah, that was a bit of a shame. Just about see coming into the next one. Slightest touch from Paul Crab. And around they go, but you unsettle a car that's high downforce coming into a corner, you're going to lighten it off, and that's the first thing that's going to happen to it.
It's a real big shame for Paul Crab and Jamie Bird as well, of course, who was the one who's gone around in the end. So Bouson's involved in a bit of a sandwich now, as Stefan Mellis is just ahead of he, and then Paul Clark, who is just there as well. I think Bouson and Clark will want to make up some positions after their issues earlier on in the race. Through they go through turn one. A little bit loose there from Bouson, but he's okay. Going to work on this move on Stefan Mellis again, but he'll be kicking himself that he's having to do this all over again. It is a pass he will feel he's already made, and he's up over the curb and all sorts there through the chicanes.
Just not learning. Too close to the sausage curves from Mike Bousson, and he's flicking that car up in the air, and this car ain't going to like it, and it's not going to love it for very long. So he's going to have to make sure that he can smooth in these beginning parts of the lap out to make sure that he doesn't end up doing what he's done already. You can see the line. Mellis goes in a little bit tighter. Bousson opens it up. This should give Bousson the opportunity to run at Mellis down into turn 12.
Yeah, we'll be seeing almost a replay of the pass that he made earlier, to be honest. Into the slipstream we go, and there's surely going to be a move down the inside. Mellis doesn't defend this time like he did last time, maybe deciding that the outside at turn 12 is the better place to be. He stays level in the braking zone, but doesn't quite squeeze Bousson enough, who slams the door shut through the left-hander. He made sure that Mellis wasn't going to come back again. He will have seen what was going on in his rearview mirrors the last time he passed and thought, I've got to shut this down as soon as possible. And he's going to... Oh, hello. He had a look. He's going to make sure, though, he shuts it down this time again. So now he's back to 7th again. Now he's just going to avoid mistakes as he tries to drive away.
Yeah, Mellis is looking a little bit... He is looking a bit shifty this evening. I'm not going to lie. He is looking quick, but... I think Bousson just might have it over him now, and unfortunately for Mellis, he's got Paul Clark closing in. LeMay has brought that gap down. He was out at about 1.4 seconds to Bramer. He's now got it down to less than a second. He's down to 6/10. The problem is Bramer's slowing down and McHutchinson's speeding up. So they need to kind of reverse that role where Bramer needs to speed up and either let LeMay through to have a go at John, or John's just going to keep opening up the gap.
Well, let's see. It was pretty similar in terms of lap times last time, but the general direction of travel is towards John McHutchison at the moment. By the way, on Paul Crab, I just wonder whether that spin at turn 1 has meant that his tyres have overheated and he's just not really recovered from that. I wonder whether these tyres are really on a knife edge at the moment, because it looks quite hot. I'm not sure if that is actually affecting the tyres at the moment or not, but once you spin, surely you'd be in a bit of trouble. That doesn't suggest particularly that the track's very warm, does it? 23 degrees. However, it just looks very hot. I don't know whether he's overheated his tyres or not. There's not really much space to give him a rest round here.
There's still 78 degrees Fahrenheit.
Well, still, it's not that warm.
No,
if it was 50 centigrade, we'd be jumping up and down with losing our minds because it's so warm. But 23, can that really affect these tyres? I don't know.
Well, I think it heats them up to a degree, doesn't it? And I think that's the thing when you're looking at that kind of scenario there. You sit back and go 23 degree track temperature, there's nearly 80 degrees Fahrenheit, give or take 2 degrees if you want to do the conversion, crack on. But 80 degrees and you're sliding this car around, you've got it going left, right, on the brakes, stop and start and go and stop and go. And, there's all of these factors in taking in place in this. So I'm sure tyre deg is going to be a problem. Whether or not now normally the theoretical rule that I've been told is if the race is over sort of 45 to an hour, you would think about taking tyres. But I've seen
yes.
John McCutcheon, Lucas Vieira, I've seen the Lip brothers take their cars an hour without stopping for tyres. So, yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this one works out. This could be a very, very interesting pit stop strategy-based race.
Yep. I just wonder whether someone's going to take that risk about halfway and say, you know what, I've not got much to lose here. Let's try and take some tyres and see what goes on. We will see, of course. Bremer has made some inroads in these last couple of moments. He's brought Paul LeMay with him. We're on board with LeMay now in towards turn 12. And there you go. McCutcheon was starting to develop at what I wouldn't quite call breathing space, but I would call light breathing space. What's light breathing? Whispering? No, I don't know. But he's just about been reeled in again by Bremer, and all of a sudden he's going to be breathing quite heavily because the pressure's on again here. Look at this, through into the long right-hander. Ewan Bremer's right on the back of him.
Yeah, Bremer's managed to close that gap back up. I really can't work out your analogy, so I'm not going to try and give you something for light breathing. Not sure. Asthma attack? Who knows?
That's not light.
But yeah, Bremer's now coming at him, which is great to see. One of the other things, Crab's getting back to Bird and Busson's getting onto Menno de Graaf. So these guys are starting to come a little bit through. Clark's closing on Mellis, so that's great to see. They're going to carry on, and Menno de Graaf, unfortunately, has just made a mistake that has brought Busson right into it. But you can see LeMay and Bremer almost side by side through turn 2, down the hill, and in through the Silverstone S's.
You have a look. You just look at how the gaps are fluctuating here. It's really quite extreme the way it's working. One moment, Bremer right on the back of McCutcheon as he went round the right-hander there of turns 17 and 18, and then all of a sudden get round the first part of the next lap and he's a second away again. I don't really understand quite how, but it is really, really extreme the way that the gaps are toing and froing at the moment. There's McCutcheon still in the lead of this race. What's the recent lap's been saying at the moment? Bremer catching on the last one. And looking, it looks like McCutcheon made an error, doesn't it, actually, looking at the lap times there. He has made a good first sector, though. That wasn't good from Bremer, losing half a second in one go. But the last lap time there from McCutcheon suggests that he actually made an error rather than the other two increasing their speed.
Yeah, I do wonder, though, if it's this final sector. You see 1 and 2, John's got by about 6.5 tenths. Bremer's pulled back 1.5. Is he going to be able to make up? See the line? That's a very shallow line from Ewan Bremer. Very shallow going through the 15. So maybe he's sort of opening up and bringing the gap back down during this period of time on that one. Let's have a look and see what John does compared to Ewan on sectors. What are they giving us? Sectors? Well, they give us 4 sectors here, which is great to see considering we get 6 at Alton Park. Very bizarre, but there we go. What's he going to do? Is he going to be able to... Yeah, see, Bremer takes the last 2, so... could be an interesting scenario.
Yep, certainly could. We'll see how that develops over the course of the rest of this race. Down the hill they go out of turn 1. Very unique corner on this circuit. Other battles on the circuit closing in. Busson has got de Graaf still behind him at the moment. There they go out the final corner, but Busson up to 6th place now. He's only got 10 seconds to catch up to Crab and Bird because they crashed into each other, so it's not quite as big of a task in front of him now than it was looking at one stage, actually. However, that's still a big gap to close. It's a good job he's got nearly 40 minutes to do it.
Yeah, he's still got plenty of time here. You can see Clark. It's been really weird with Paul because I've been watching his times and his intervals going into Mellis, and they're going down to about a second, and then like they are now, and then all of a sudden there's either a mistake or he doesn't like a certain part of this racetrack because it shoots out to about 1.2, 1.3 seconds again. And then it does the same thing again, and then it's a kind of a rinse and repeat. So I'm not quite sure if there's a situation with Paul that he doesn't like a certain part. But all of a sudden, Mellis seems to be quicker. So I'll keep an eye on that for this lap, and we'll see where we end up.
Yeah, let's see. We can see on the interval there, LeMay is just losing a bit of time to Bremer as well for the first time in a little while. This is Clark trying to get past Mellis. They're both driving off the circuit there, trying to break each other's slipstream. That was slightly strange. I hope they got it off track for that. That'd be hilarious. But anyway, they're still in the same positions as they were, 8th and 9th down the hill and on the brakes at turn 12. Getting pretty close here through the final sector. Managed to going to run that in deep, and here comes Clark, inside line. Oh, slides a little bit, but he's now going to maybe switch back, or is he going to go right round the outside of 15 and 16? No, he's going to be blocked there by Mellis, who locks up, and Clark didn't have anywhere to go. He does get back through there. I think Mellis felt slightly bad for breaking too late on the inside and nearly sliding into him. I think he was maybe being a bit overly nice, actually, but anyway, he's let Clark through there into 8th place.
Yeah, and Stefan is one of the nicest gentlemen that you meet in iRacing, and I talk to him regularly. We're doing the V8s together as well, and he's overly nice. I don't feel he did anything wrong there, personally, and he'll probably watch this back and he'll message me and tell me something completely different, like he went in deep, locked up and in front of him, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think he did anything wrong. He went in deep, yes, he got it stopped, and there wasn't any contact, so I don't really feel the need for him to let them through. The interesting thing about this is both of these are round about the same pace. They're all kicking around that 1:59 2-minute mark. So this battle here, although they've managed to get together, could develop and materialise as the race goes, because they do end up being round about the same pace. What we have got developing is McHutchison, Bramer and LeMay. Now, how are they going to work out pit stops here? What's the situation going to be, and who's going to blink first?
That's going to be very interesting indeed. Race defining perhaps as well, actually, given the format. Look at Bramer again. It's so weird, isn't it, how the gap just comes in and out like this. But I was reading something that John was putting in the Discord actually earlier on, saying I don't think I've done 2 laps the same in practice, because it's just so difficult to be consistent around here, and that's something I could absolutely sympathise with, having driven around here myself as well. Especially in prototype style fast-ish cars like these, it's very difficult to be consistent indeed. I tried to take it to hypercar around here. It was disaster. It's just so difficult to be consistent around this circuit. Here comes Bramer now, though, trying to use a good moment for him to go down the inside, but he couldn't quite do it there. And McHutchison breathes a sigh of relief as he goes down the other hill now. Enter the S's in the lead again.
Yeah. Do you know what? I want to follow Bramer, because we sit back and see where he's making up his time, but if you watch his line through turn 12, 13, 14 and 15, he ends up right on the back of John. That line out of 15, for whatever reason, is so much quicker and it's so much tighter that he seems to pull in an absolute chunk of time on him. It is literally insane. He'll do the same thing here. He'll use that straightaway, but we'll watch him through 12 and 13, 14 and 15. And you'll see just how narrow he goes through 15 to close right in on John.
Here we go. This could be the first chance in some time for Ewan Bramer here, as he has a look. Oh, is he not going to go for it? Wow. He looks like he's going to wait here. He had a peek to the inside, but he decides to stay behind. Now, is he playing the fuel game maybe to try and jump him in the pit stops? That would surprise me, to be honest, given the circuit we're at. It's not like Monza, where you can really save fuel and gain a lot later on. It's not going to be like Le Mans, where we've got the other endurance this season on the 24th of February. That is our finale, but it is one of those circuits that does have a long back straight towards the braking zone, that I believe Bramer just used for a bit of fuel saving there.
There you go. Look at that line. He is literally, will end up closing. You watched him through 15, and he is so quick. And he's closed in again, and he's brought LeMay with him. Now, this is Paul LeMay's opportunity. He took his first win of the season last week. McHutchison didn't look comfortable.
Certainly not. Here he goes. Ewan Bramer has a look up the inside here, and looks like he's going to go through on John McHutchison. Latish on the brakes. Round the outside goes John, and LeMay will close in on the 2 of them, but Bramer can't go anywhere. It was a bit half-hearted, really, wasn't it, to try and go through on that occasion. And again, John McHutchison leads into the Maggots and Beckett section, for want of a better word. I don't know what they're actually called. But anyway, through the S's they go, and he's in the lead again.
Very, very interested now. I don't know if Bramer wanted to take that lead. I know that might sound completely absurd, and people sat at home going, James, what the blinking Nora are you talking about? That wasn't a full-on send into turn one. I've seen Bramer all season in this car. That if he's going to go for it, he will commit like a rabid dog trying to get down a hole to get a fox. He did not commit to that, and then he had the opportunity after as well, and he didn't look like he was committing to that either. So I'm wondering what sort of game Bramer's playing, whether or not he's playing that fuel game that we've seen here, because I can tell you one thing, what he doesn't want is that blue, white, red and yellow machine of the two brothers racing a pool closing in and fighting with him, because if them two fight, John's gone. So they've got to play it by ear. But Bramer, he didn't look committed then, Ewan.
No, certainly not. But you'd think as well that Paul LeMay will know that if he decides to get involved in the battle for second place, then it's going to be over. The difficult thing for him, I think, is deciding when to actually get involved, because he can't sit in third forever. I agree that he's got to stay behind to the pit stops at least, but how much longer does he leave it after that? This, by the way, is the halfway mark. I'm expecting 30 laps in this race, and we're at the end of lap 15. Oh, John's gone! John McCutcheon spins out the final corner. It's been coming, I've got to say. He's been really lighting up the rear tyres coming out of that final turn on occasions here so far in this race, but finally it's bitten. John McCutcheon goes down to third place after leading the first half of this one. He's now got a lot of work to do to get back into the front.
How many laps have we watched that? How many laps have we watched him coming out that final corner and getting squirrely? He had the warning, he got himself another warning, and then he still didn't adhere to the third warning, and then the fourth time, no. He just didn't, the car was like, nope, not happening. So for him, he had the warnings there and he knew they were coming, but he did not react and slow himself down coming out that final corner. Slammed that throttle on, spun them wheels up again, 4 warnings, fourth time the charm almost, and around he goes.
That is a real shame for him though, and by the way, I've just referred to the point structure for this round here tonight. Ewan Bramer started the day, quick maths, 51 points behind John McCutcheon overall. Paul LeMay started the day only 1 point further back from that. The winner gets 10 more than second place and 12 more than third. So it would put a fairly sizable dent into John McCutcheon's lead if this continues. Yeah, that's a good thing about the endurance points. They do get 60 points for the win. So they've got to be, obviously, we've combined the both from the sprint and the feature, the sprints that we normally have and mixed them in together. So they get 60, they get 50, and then they get 48. So it's a great opportunity to take some great points here, because people have missed the races. Luke Maxwell did say he's not here. Eric Harmon, Lucas Vieira, all of these guys could possibly be in and around being jumped from the likes for Menno de Graaf. It could be David Rollerson, it could be Lucas Vieira, it could be Eric Harmon. There's always opportunities with this kind of endurance event that gives you that double points or triple points almost, that you can literally score some big and move yourself up into the championship. Definitely well worth staying with throughout this race just to get them points on the board. Yeah, it certainly is. And the advantage for John McCutcheon as well here is that he has got a big gap behind him. Bird and Crab's accident earlier on has really helped him out here as far as maintaining a gap goes. I'm surprised actually he didn't decide to come into pit lane that time round. I do understand it in some sense, because there would be a pretty high chance if you ended up in traffic. The gap from 4th place right the way down to 10th actually isn't very big, so you could end up in a bit of traffic. But you know, his tyres must be a little bit warm after lighting them up at the final corner. We're past halfway, so surely we are in the pit window now, and John decides not to just come in this time round. He's going to leave it for a bit later on.
Yeah, Julian Rees looks like he's had a big old moment. Unfortunately, he's out of the race for Julian. Not quite sure what he'd done. I think he was just... he's had a bit of a frustrating race this time for Julian, unfortunately. So let's see how he gets on. Onto the marbles, can't stop the car. And unfortunately, it looks like after that, he had another one. Here again. And then does he...
The slow speed stuff at the end of the lap that's really difficult.
Yeah,
these kind of cards.
It's that power management is so awkward, you know, and he's just got to make sure that well, you've seen it. If John McCutcheon could make a mistake, and he's driven these cars for years, anybody can make the mistake. So yeah, one interesting thing we have picked up on it, got to pick up on, is Graham Matthews reeling Mellis in. Now, I don't know if Mellis is holding some form of damage. I don't know if he's fuel saving or doing something dramatic in the car, but he is getting reeled in by Graham Matthews. So we'll keep an eye on that one as they're coming into sort of that pit window, 35 to 40 minutes, and then they will have to stop. So it's interesting to see Matthews and Mellis coming together after they both had some form of starts that obviously that went on, and well, you saw Mellis's and Matthews, they both got caught up in the same thing, but that's the lap times over the last 3 laps.
I think McCutcheon's made another mistake. He's now 11 seconds behind LeMay in second place. Yep, it's not at the final corner again, is it? They're coming up towards it again, so this is 2 in 3 laps. He's made an error in the final corner. It's on the power again as well. Oh, wow. You don't see him make an identical mistake very often like that in such quick succession. That's very rare to see.
That is the epiphany, the picture of deja vu. If you looked at deja vu in motor racing, you would have just seen that. He did the same thing. Same thing, same place, same point. That is just absolutely insane. And this is a man that's probably done thousands of laps in this car. And to get it wrong twice in exactly the same way is just absolutely mental. What he has done is brought Bird down into him a little bit. Crab's coming in as well. So there's still fighting happening on the racetrack. We've still got that opportunity for a couple of people to get together. LeMay still tucked in Mabrema. Not really sure again whether or not it's an aggressive LeMay or we might see the aggression a little bit later on in the race.
Yeah, let's see. So far, he's been very patient, I've got to say. He was watching the leading 2 battle away in front of him, and he was more than happy to just sit there and watch. He's got the fastest lap of the day so far, so he'll be pretty pleased with that. But through the corner they go, and now into the pit lane. So he's gone from patience to now a bit of aggression. I think he hasn't quite practiced the pit entrance there because he's slowed down a bit too early. So he might have lost a bit of time there. If Brema's practiced pit entrance, he'll gain a second or so there. But LeMay will be hoping that he comes out in some sort of gap, either between McCutcheon and Bird or between Crab and Bousson, or Bousson and Menno de Graaf, actually. There's a couple of gaps for him to slot into, but he absolutely cannot afford to be in traffic.
No, he needs to get on his bike. We did say 35 to 40. Look at that. I'm 36. Hey, contact me for next week's lottery numbers.
Will do.
If you don't win, don't hold me responsible. All right, I'm just saying.
I'd say that was advertising and everyone heard it. Let's see where the comes out in a few moments' time. It looks like he's just going to get out ahead of de Graaf. That is perfect for Paul LeMay. Look at this. De Graaf is just, well, he's got a bit wide there, but that's okay. Where's de Graaf? There he is, through the bottom of your screen. And LeMay is in exactly the right position here. So Paul LeMay, although he's losing a bit of time down the hill, not sure what he's managed to do there, why he's slowing down. But anyway, there goes Matthew. He goes past Stefan Mellis, and that is 9th place. That had been coming for a while, though.
Mellis was, again, being overly nice on that situation. Bird and Crab still fighting out, but as you say, LeMay, perfect. In 7 seconds behind Mike Bousson, who's not pitted, and he is ahead of Menno de Graaf, who also has not pitted. So LeMay could not have put himself in any more of a perfect position than he did just then. So great job from him. Paul Crab, Bird, they're still fighting out as they're side by side through turn 12.
Let's see into the final sector how this is going to transpire. Just having flashback from the last time they went through that corner nose to tail, and they ended up backwards, the two of them. Bird there, a little bit wide of the apex. Crab will just close in a bit, but can't take advantage to make an overtake just for the moment. Brema goes over the line, 13 seconds now in front of McCutcheon, who is into the pit lane, and I'm absolutely not surprised about that.
No, to be honest, I thought that would have been coming a lap after. Bird's in, Crab's gone in, so it's what Bousson's going to do. Is he going to come in as well? No, Bousson's still carrying fuel. It's how far is this man going to get here over the fact of we've got this man sat right at the front. He's only just managed to stop LeMay's on his run now. I think this is going to be very, very close indeed. There's John McHutchison. Is he going to get out at any point? I think LeMay is going to be well ahead and up the hill.
Yeah, he will. The real question is going to be whether LeMay is ahead of Bremer or not. There goes McHutchison out of the pit lane, and if Bremer's pit stop is as long as McHutchison's, then he's going to be way out in front. If it's as long as LeMay's, he might be in a bit of trouble here. Let's see, though. Crab and Bird, side by side. They leave the pit lane absolutely together, but Crab's got it. He's jumped him in the pit lane by the looks of things. Paul Crab is going to be 5th for the moment, but he's going to jump up to 4th place when Mike Booson comes into the pit lane.
So bizarre. So bizarre. Bird had a slower pit lane time and a slower pit stop time. He had a 21.73 pit stop time for Crab, 24.8 for Bird. Bird's pit stop at the moment is the slowest out of everybody. They were all around 20 seconds for Paul LeMay, 19 for John McHutchison, 21.24 for Jamie Bird. So that's going to be an interesting one. Ewan Bremer in pit lane. Accelerate it out. Get it down. There we go. Going to be close. Yep.
Close.
Expect Booson to be heading in this time as well, I would have thought.
Let's see. Yeah, well, depends whether we've actually reached the limit of the field or whether that was just a tactical choice from Bremer to try and cut off LeMay. I think Bremer's going to be about 5 seconds in the lead here. I think LeMay has taken a slightly longer stop than he really needed to, and yeah, it does look like we've reached the limit at the end of 20 laps. Everybody having to come in, so that's about 40 minutes. There's LeMay. Out onto the circuit is going to come Bremer in a few moments' time, and there he goes already as LeMay goes round the final corner. Bremer's already left his box. He's going to be in the lead here by some margin, is Bremer. It's about getting up to speed now for him. If he does that in decent shape, then he will be in the lead by some margin, and there you go. Paul LeMay's pit stop was 6 seconds too long. I'm absolutely convinced it was longer than it needed to be because John McHutchison's caught him, and Ewan Bremer has extended a gap over him. Not sure what he's done, but he's had a longer pit stop for sure.
Yeah, but he was a second longer. But one of the things you did pick up on was his entry into pit lane. He had a second longer stop. He had a 3 second longer pit lane time. So if you put that together, that gives you around about 4 seconds, 4 and a bit seconds. So unfortunately for LeMay, by the time he wasn't quite close enough to Bremer either to get near him going into the pit lane cycle, he was teetering on around about a second. That's where the 5.8s come from. He's lost 4 seconds just in the pit lane, 1 of 3 on the pit lane time, 1 on the actual pit stop.
Yeah. So that does make sense if you actually add them together.
Yeah,
you're right to put the two together because I was just thinking it was pit stop time, but actually there was more to the story there, and we saw it as well. So look, it just shows. I always say it's such an underrated part of practicing, but you've absolutely got to do it. I can't remember which other sim it is, or game it is, but there is definitely a racing-related game, motorsport, sim racing, some sort of that type of game, where Circuit of the Americas is in the game, and the pit commit line, if you like, where you have to start doing the speed limit, is directly after the corner and not a bit further on like it is in iRacing. I can't remember which game it is, but I just wonder whether he's expecting the line to be where I would expect it to be, but it's in fact a little bit further along on iRacing.
Yeah, I think the thing is you look out for the yellow cones. Wherever the yellow cones are, you do it in practice. You literally go out, find the yellow cones on the pit lane entry, and you know you've got to stop by then. The yellow cones here are not actually where you think they would be, as I don't know where Crab come from there, but he come from a long way. The cones are round the corner. They're on your left-hand side, literally on the edge of the pit box. Where Barney is, there's the cones. See them? And that's where they've got to get on the gas. But Bird and Crab side by side. Crab's going to have to tighten up one. If Bird lets his run, which he's not going to do, I thought you might have had to go into one.
Not quite. As they make their way down the hill, Bird is going to really give this a go with Crab. He is looking through the S's. This is, I think, going to be our battle to watch for the remainder of this race, with just over quarter of an hour to go. We might even squeeze in 31 laps as well because of the pace that Bremer has been putting on at the front of the field. Through the S's they go. This is the Interlagos section-ish as they go uphill rather than going down. Oh, well, that's a big save from Bird. Look at that. It's amazing that he's not lost more time because he was right out sideways there out of turn 9.
Yeah, great save from Jamie Bird. He knows he's got to not do that. He knows he's got to close in on Crab. They've been together for the whole race. This man, though, the tractor driver in Somersetarian of Mike Bousson, he's closing in. He's been fighting right the way from lap 1. Mike has done a stellar job, to be honest, to get back up to 6th because he was down, and out at this point. Mellis is headed back in front of Matthews. Now, if you remember back before the cycle of the pit stops, Matthews had actually cleared Mellis. Same with Menno de Graaf and Paul Clark. Now, the reason for that is de Graaf's pit stop time was 21, pit lane time 48. Paul Clark's pit stop time was 22.5, so that's 1.5 seconds, and 51 pit lane time, so that's 3 seconds, so that's 4.5 seconds that Paul Clark managed to lose over Menno de Graaf. So yeah, not a great stop for a couple of people here this evening, but yeah, still action going to hopefully develop here. We're probably going to get it from Crab and Bird, maybe Matthews and Mellis towards the end of the last 15.
Bird's just got to regather himself here in the next few moments and then go again because that was a big slide. But yeah, Bouson's not quite done with this just yet either, so it could be a big battle for fourth. As I say, as far as the championship goes, things are going to not quite turn on their heads tonight, but they are going to close in. Ewan Bremer at the moment is going to gain a big 12 points over John McCutcheon. Started the day 51 behind. He's going to get down to 39, so effectively he's taken about 25% off of his disadvantage to John McCutcheon at the start of the day in just one race. As you were talking about earlier, this is the advantage of the endurance racing format. You can take a big chunk of points in just the one race, although you do have to go for about 3 times the length to achieve it.
Yeah, and if, well, to be fair, it's free 20 minute, well, 25 normally. But you look at it as well. If he can stay close to John over the next few rounds, and we're going off to tricky circuits like Zolder Alternate, Zandvoort, Watkins Glen and Interlagos. If he can stay close during them, when it comes to Le Mans for the endurance, anything can happen. And that's the thing, that last endurance, that last big points gain is literally imperative for some of these people. Drop weeks will be added after this one as well. So once they get through round 6, they're going to add the first. Round 8 will be the second. And then Interlagos and Le Mans, they can't drop anyway. So that's going to start coming into play as well once they get past Zandvoort. So there's still Bremer can still do this, but he's got to make sure he nails Zolder, Zandvoort, Watkins and Interlagos to go into Le Mans. Even if he goes in 15 points back, with that endurance points, he's still got the opportunity to win it.
Yeah, it's far from over, that's for sure. It is absolutely far from over. So we'll get crunching the numbers ready for the start of the second half of the season, because there's going to be a lot to work out in February. We'll be live, by the way, every week apart from the 27th of January, but where we have a week off between round 6 and 7, but live every Monday night right the way to the end of February in this series. So I very much hope that you will join us for it. Matthew versus Mellis going on for 9th place further down the field. They're side by side actually through the final corner, as Mellis there I think was giving a bit of challenge to Graham Matthew. He's going to do it again in towards turn 1 by the looks of things here. Late on the brakes in towards the first corner. Looks like he's going to get it into the turn and down the other side. Stefan Mellis up to 9th place, and this might be another battle that carries on to the end. I wasn't expecting this one though, I've got to say.
No, well, we did say that obviously we were looking that they were going to get closer to each other. Matthews at the slower pit stops than Mellis. They went in around about the same sort of time. So I'd expect this to start closing in and coming back out again. Now, as predicted, going into the last 12, we've got this bird-crab battle. These guys have pretty much been together for the whole entire 48 minutes. that they have here. I thought he was going to get alongside him then. He is now, though. He is now. Oh, God, Jesus. That was close.
They always do get close through this part. I seem to think.
But this is where they had their little ta-ta-ta, wasn't it?
Exactly, yeah, the stadium section, if you like, inspired by the Hockenheim. And the more they battle, the more that Bussen closes in. It's the classic cliche in racing, but it is true. So I'll say it again. Bussen really benefiting from this. 1.8 seconds. It was 3 seconds where we started to follow these guys more closely. Bird's got a decent run at the final corner, but he started quite a long way back, so he's not going to be there in time. He gained 6 tenths this lap, though. He's starting to really apply that pressure, and he hasn't got much time left to do it. 6 laps at minimum left for him to make this pass.
Do you know the interesting thing? Not only this battle, look at the LeMay gap over Bremer. That was out at nearly 5.5 to nearly 6 seconds. We're now down to 3.8. LeMay literally pulled over 7 tenths or 8 tenths nearly out of Bremer that last lap. So LeMay's giving it everything. You can see over 23 he's pulled out half a second, 24 he's pulled 7 tenths back. I don't know if he's going to, what's he going to get, 7, 14, 21, 5 laps? You said 6 remaining possibly. If he carries on at this rate, this could be a final lap showdown, shootout, whatever, hoedown, whatever you want to call it. Handbags at dawn.
It could be a last lap whatever for us, which would be interesting. Let's just monitor the time remaining here, because we're very close to having 31 or 30 laps to go, and that could be quite an important part of the story here at the front of the race because of the way that LeMay's catching here. Is he going to run out of laps? There is a situation and a world in which he might run out of laps if we only do 30, but he might be able to get there if we do 31. Over the line, where is the line? It's right down the end there, isn't it?
There, at the finish line.
No, so it is going to be 30 laps, not 31. LeMay really would have liked this race to be a bit quicker so that he could get an extra lap, but it looks like the fighting earlier on for the lead has cost us too much time, and we're going to be limited to just 30 laps at present with the pace that Ewan Bremer is currently doing.
But he's got another 2 tenths out of him as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. I'll keep a close eye on that gap. I want to go to the Bird Crab battle because they're still fighting out. Matthews and Mellis is still scrapping away at the same time. Oh, Mike coming round sideways. Gap down from 3.2 to 1.8 for Mike Bussen. He's got about 10 minutes and 4 laps.
Yep. Here we go. Into the first corner. Not quite this time round. I do wonder why Bird's being so patient at the moment because of Bussen closing in. 3 seconds behind. I would be trying to get on with this, to be honest, if I was Bird. I know it would invite Bussen to close in, but if he can get past and away, and Bird could secure himself 4th place without doing quite as a whole lot, but he could be in the meat of a sandwich here in a moment if he's not too careful. That was a lot of understeer through turn 7. This is not the line at all. As I was talking about earlier on, you can go off course very easily, and not quite like that, I didn't mean, but he's he can go off course sliding around as well. You can get one part of that S's section wrong, and then you're getting every single corner after that wrong as well. It's very, very difficult indeed, but Jamie Bird's gathered it up again. He's still only 5 tenths behind as Crab seems to be slowing. He seemed to be slowing down the other side of the hill there, and now as they go on the back straight, he's being reeled in again here. Not sure why, but this is getting closer in towards turn 12. Jamie Bird's just too far back again this time.
Yeah, but he is managing to close in on him, which is going to be the interesting thing, because it does mean for us here up in the booth, we're going to see these fireworks kick off. LeMay's made a mistake. LeMay has made a mistake. He's back down to 7. Oh, this is...
Slow down, I think. Is it?
He's going round.
Oh, wow.
Gutted.
That's cost him a chance at a race win, hasn't it? I think that much is pretty clear now.
Everybody seems to be struggling a little bit at the end of the race. Matthews has just lost 3 seconds over Mellis.
It's the same mistake, is it? It is, pretty much.
Yeah. We said about tyres, whether or not they were going to be an issue. I'm starting to wonder how many did, and Bird's now going to dive up the inside. He needs to be more. There needs to be more from Bird on that inside line. He needs to almost go straight across Crab's nose and almost break in front of him, kind of park the bus almost, you know, get it in there and defend and try and do it that way. But that half-hearted move means he's back further now, so he's got to go again.
Yeah. I know what you mean a little bit here, but oh no, it's gone! Oh, that might have been it. He saved it quite well, so he might have another chance to come back again. But he's been getting very loose, lap after lap after lap through turn 9, and there it very nearly bit him one final time.
Oh, clean up in Jamie Bird's underpants, please. Clean up in that one. That was a moment. I thought he was gone. We've seen Matthews, we've seen Buson, we've seen McHutchinson all do it and go round. He's had a couple of warnings as well, let's not forget. There's been a couple of times coming out of that corner. He's had a couple of warnings that car is going to step out if he keeps doing what he's doing. And he's about as close as you could possibly be without that car going round. He has got to be careful.
Yep, he certainly has. He's got to just calm down a little bit here, be a little bit more patient on the throttle. It's clear that his tyres are starting to go away from him as well, and he can't be affording to sort of accelerate that process. As you can see him getting loose again there through the long right-hander. It's so difficult to keep these cars under control once they're starting to go like this. I mean, just ask John McHutchison. Went for 2 spins in 3 laps at the very same corner on power. You've got to be super smooth with the right foot in this car, otherwise you'll be going round. Meanwhile, 3 laps to go now for Jamie Bird and whoever else wants to make a move in the late stage of this race. Yeah,
Buson's just set his fastest lap, his own best lap of the whole entire race for him, and he's just done that towards the end as well. So great job from Mike, closing in now 7 tenths. If he can get him, great. If he can get near him and stay close to try and pull him into Crab or get him near Crab, that's an ideal scenario, because then they can fight it out. If he doesn't feel that Bird's going to get him close enough to Crab, Buson's then got to go for it. He's done it again. How many more warnings is Bird going to get?
Yeah, well, exactly. You just think at one of these times it's just going to go wrong, I'm afraid. He's taken a slightly defensive line into turn 11 there, and that could give Buson a bit of a chance. He started quite a long way back, so even though he's got a good exit, not sure he's quite going to have it up here to close in and actually get through. Let's see as they go over the rise and now back down the hill again in towards turn 12. He's not quite going to do it. It's gently downhill, makes the braking zone a bit more difficult, but no, Buson is right in this race now, though. They didn't really fight for him to get involved either. He's just sort of done a lot of this catching on his own.
Yeah. So we've seen, excuse me, we've seen the odd couple of battles, haven't we? Bird going in deep into 1. He's locked up as well, going into 15. That's going to bring Bruce on side by side with him here through the long right-hander of 17 and 18. Bird survives, but how much longer now? Bird's tyres have got to be gone. They've got to be shot to pieces for him to be sliding like this.
There's a very long way to go around the outside there, by the way, so that's not going to work. Oh, Bird's off again there. He's just got a bit wide, and so Buson's surely going to have a chance to get through here. 2 laps to go. It would be a miracle, frankly, if Jamie Bird hangs on to this top 5 now. The tyres have just fallen away from him at the very end here. He's on the brakes too late. He's locked up into turn 1 as he was trying to take a different line and defend. And Mike Buson goes through on the inside, slips through, gets back into the top 5, and his recovery drive through the field is pretty much complete.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get any further up than that. We've got the leaders going to be the final lap next time around as well for Ewan Bramer. But Buson, give him props, give him credit. You know, he carried on in the race. He did what he had to do. He moved up from the back end. Let's not forget, he was down in 11 seconds. He was about 2.5 seconds back for the last place man running in the field after his slide on lap 1. And he's managed to battle his way back to 5th. You've only got to be able to give him props for that, because at the end of the day, that's a great job when many people would have just gone, nah, I'm giving up, I've had enough. Paul Clark has finally, and I say that, got onto the back of Meadow the graph. So this could be an interesting last lap with these guys. Well, they've still got a lap and a half, give or take, to go. So yeah, Buson's got the same amount of time to try and get over onto Crab. But Ewan Bramer, the final lap of the race.
Yep, here he goes. He's going to be getting the white flag. There is Bonnie waving his white flag, and Ewan Bremer is going to be able to just consolidate this margin all the way home. He's going to gain 12 points on McCutcheon and close his championship margin to just 39 points going into the final half of the season, the second half of the season, I should say. And that is a good proposition, I would say, heading into the later rounds. Coming up in the latter part of January. What have you
Buson had a wiggle coming through 17 and 18. You just saw that twitch out of Buson's machine.
I didn't quite spot it live, but yeah, he's going to have it now a little bit more short. I'm amazed Jamie Bird is holding on to these slides, to be honest with you. It looks every time like he's going to spin, and I think one of these times it's going to be a slide too many, but he's still getting away with it. And he's still in 6th place. I just don't think he's going to have enough to get back into the top 5.
No, and he's still coming in hot every single time into 1. Now, we said these guys have got to have one more lap. Clark has got one more lap to get to Graf. These guys coming into the final corner before they start their final lap as well. Menno, I can guarantee, has watched that time come down and has sat there gone, I really didn't need this. Not on the final lap, because we've got Paul Clark coming at him, and this is going to be where the battle's going to take shape. Buson Bird, it looks like Bird might have had another moment, and unfortunately has lost about 1.26 seconds now to Buson. Buson's closed some time over onto Paul Crabb, but not enough, I don't think, to get him near towards the end of the race. The leader, though, Ewan Bremer, coming around 17 and 18.
Into the final couple of corners, Bremer is going to be taking a very important win in the context of the Radical SR8 Championship. Already weaving around as he goes towards the final few corners. That's a man confident in his machine. Out of the final turn he goes, and after an hour of racing, Ewan Bremer wins at the Circuit of the Americas in the first of 2 endurance rounds in the Radical SR8 Championship. A fantastic try from him. At times he had to attack the likes of John McCutcheon. At times he had to defend from the likes of Paul LeMay, who finishes second. He was able to do both very well indeed and take a very nice win. Yeah,
John McCutcheon comes over the line in third. This gap come down just a minute ago to about 8 or 9 tenths. And I thought Mike might have been able to do Ming, but I think this is about as close as Mike's going to be able to get, unless Crabb does a McCutcheon around the glass corner, which he doesn't. He gets on his bike, and Paul Crabb comes over the line and finishes in 4th. Mike Buson in 5th. Jamie Bird in 6th. Menno and Paul Clark still near each other towards the end of the race.
They are late on. Can Clark do anything late in the final 2 corners here? You can see him, he's throwing everything at it. Perhaps too much through the long right-hander. You can go far too wide there and you actually lose time, even if you feel like you're trying harder. Into the final corner. De Graaf should have enough as long as he gets the power down without slipping and sliding, and he has managed it. Clark is just about going to miss out. He'll be ruining the early laps, I think, where he had those incidents through the final sector.
Yeah, Mellis did stay ahead of Matthews, and by, well, there you go. Very, very close together. So a couple of nice little tight finishes there as well. Great job from all of these guys for an hour. I can tell you one thing, I probably can't go for an hour. It's horrendous.
Ewan Bremer was able to do it better than the rest. He wins by 8.7 seconds ahead of Paul LeMay, with John McCutcheon running at the podium. Paul Crabb held on from Mike Buson and Jamie Bird there, as we saw. Menno de Graaf hung on from Paul Clark, and Stefan Mellis hung on from Graham Matthew. All those battles going on inside the top 10. Julian Race, unfortunately, retired just before the halfway mark. Let's bring in Ewan Bremer to chat to the race winner after that one. Congratulations, Ewan, and thanks for coming to chat to us as well. As I just mentioned, as the race was ending, you had to attack at one stage to John. You had to defend against Paul at one stage as well. But how was the race generally for you?
Oh, it was awesome. It was a good race. Intense. My goodness, this track is intense. I don't like it. I don't think a lot of people like it. Yeah, it was good. Good to be up there. Good to get to hang on to John. After the pit stops, I thought Paul was going to catch up for sure. So glad when I saw him made a small mistake and just drive home.
Yeah, you managed to just bring it home in the end. Were you concerned at one stage, though, that Paul was catching you a little bit, and the gap was 3 seconds with about 10 minutes to go or so?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was looking in my mirrors, looking at the lap times. Like I said, I was so I actually was really glad when I saw him made a small mistake. So the gap dropped back to 8 seconds, I think. Yeah, it was good. Good. It's a tough track.
Yep, that is for sure. Yeah, not a lot of people like it. I think you're right about that. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Always you guys. Of course, everybody that came up tonight. And a special shout out to Miles and John, my teammates. That's it.
Yeah, well, congratulations, Ewan, on the win, and thanks for coming to chat to us.
Thanks, mate. And have a good one. See you next week.
Thanks very much.
Take care.
Thanks very much, Ewan Bramer there, the winner tonight at Kota. Let's have a chat to Paul LeMay, who finished second in the end, despite, as you can see in the pictures here, but fifth earlier on. Paul, congratulations on finishing second. Are you slightly disappointed you couldn't get back to the race lead there to have a bit of a battle with that spin late on, or are you pleased to have finished in second?
Hi guys. No, I'm really pleased with second. I didn't realise it was an endurance race until practice started. Had a terrible qualifying, and yeah, I'm just pleased to get second. Really, Ivan just drove brilliantly at the end there. I pushed as hard as I could. I just had James in my ear saying, "Come on, push," and I did, and I spun. So I'm blaming him.
Oi! I'd like to point out as well, I sent out an announcement at 7:25 telling everybody it was an endurance race, half an hour before the session started.
Yeah, you might well have done, but I didn't see it.
There you go. I'm blaming you then for that one. So now we're equal.
All right, then, mate. We'll go with that. Yeah.
No, it was. It didn't seem to affect you, I've got to say, in terms of your driving. I mean, in terms of the circuit itself, you must have known which circuit we were going to a bit longer than before the session went up. How pleased were you to see it on the calendar, or not pleased were you to see it on the calendar?
Yeah, I was really pleased actually. I really liked the track. I think it's a great layout. Had good pace all week. But yeah, no, I just think it's a really interesting track. Very difficult following through the twisty bits, but yeah, it's great fun.
I don't want to break this to you particularly, but you may be the only one. I don't mind it. I've been fighting the corner for this circuit a little bit, but I don't love it. You seem to be the first person I've spoken to for quite some time who's actually, got a decent report of it. What is it? Why do you like this circuit? I don't want to sort of. I'm not saying you're wrong, but but tell us a bit why you like the circuit.
If you can get it right, it's really rewarding. Especially the first sort of half of the track. If you can get that right and keep the speed up, it's just really rewarding. I struggled a little bit towards the end of the lap, but as a whole, yeah, I just really like it.
And maybe where me and James have been going wrong is that we can't get it right. That might be.
That could be wrong, mate. Our inability takes place the moment we press register in the car. You know what I mean? Let's be real about it. But yeah, I'm not a lover of this one.
That might be holding us back a bit. But anyway, congratulations on second, Paul. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, Ivan. I think he drove a real good race, and I couldn't get past him in the first half of the race. I just couldn't get close enough. So he did a good job, and yeah. So congrats to him.
Absolutely, and congrats to you for finishing second. Thanks for coming to chat to us as well.
Okay, guys. Catch you later.
Take care, man.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Paul LeMay there, second place at Kota here tonight, and then followed by John McCutcheon, who finishes third. Congratulations on another podium, John. But are you disappointed with that little phase in the race where you had those couple of spins out the final corner, which really consigned you to third in the end?
Yeah, I was just speaking to Ivan about it there after it. I couldn't get any heat in the tyres tonight for some reason. I kept the rears were moving around, especially the long right-hander. I had no grip going around there at all, and just lost the rear a couple of times coming out of the last corner. So well done to Ivan and Paul. They had good pace tonight. So
I must say, it did look like a bit of a struggle with rear tyres all night, but I suspect actually it might be overheating. You're saying you couldn't get the temperature high enough to actually get the tyres to work. Is that even the case half an hour in?
I finished the race. My rears were 88. That was the highest I had at the rear. I mean, will run up to 110 before you lose your ears. So I don't know why I was so. I don't know. Maybe heavier on the throttle.
That is very odd. But either way, how you feel about the second half of the championship coming up now? Because Ewan has obviously taken a bit of time out or a bit of points out of you championship wise, but you know the tracks coming up, of course. But probably better than most. The next 5. How are you feeling about the second half of the championship?
Yeah, look forward to it. Always like to race this car. It doesn't matter what track it is. I'll put my best into it. Didn't have much practice into it for tonight. I was been practicing for the Daytona 24-hour and a race I had last night that I won't talk about. Just I had no time in the car this week, but that's no excuse. So
was there? I might remember that race, don't I?
you're too old. That was last night. You won't remember that.
Right,
You're
mate.
like me. Forget it the next day.
Hey, mate, compared to Ewan, me and you have got blatant brains like anything. Elephants. You talk to Ewan, he forgets things
Memories,
about 10 minutes later.
definitely. Terrible. Yeah, it really is. Thanks for coming to chat to us, John. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Shout out to you guys as usual for a great job you do. Not just tonight, but I listened to a few of your broadcasts, so good stuff.
Thanks very much. Good luck in Daytona on Saturday. I'm presuming you race on Saturday.
Yep.
So good luck for that.
Thank you.
Hope you survive longer than an hour or two.
No,
Stop.
Yeah.
Can you not curse him already?
Sorry. No,
Jesus.
that's
turn one already. What the
Yeah,
hell?
if you go out after an hour, John, message Ewan and tell him.
Will
It's
do.
your fault.
I'm not going to take responsibility, but hopefully that doesn't happen anyway. Thanks for chatting to us. We'll see you again in this series again next week, I'm sure.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Cheers.
Cheers. John McCutcheon there, third place tonight in the Radical SR8 Championship. Well, that's just about it for us tonight. I enjoyed actually the first endurance ride. I always fear with radicals like this, because they're not very used to doing longer races, and I don't see them very often. I do fear a little bit that everybody else is not going to be particularly strong for an hour. There's going to be lots of mistakes, and there were a few mistakes, of course, but there were battles all throughout the hour here, even at a circuit which a lot of people weren't particularly looking forward to.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. We were worried, and we did speak about it in the green room. We said maybe this hour we might start seeing people spread out or whatever like that. But we kind of did, but then they were spread out with each other. We had the Bremer, LeMay, McHutchinson. We had the Crab and Bird going at it constantly. Buson just catching everybody at the back trying to come through the field. Menno de Graaf trying to go nose to tail with Paul Clark and try and stay in front of him. And Stefan Mellison and Graham Matthews having a fight. So that's pretty much everybody in the field that finished were in battles all the way through the race. So, I mean, that's great. Great to see.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic to see. And there is one more endurance to come on the 24th of February. So I very much hope you'll join us for that as well. We're back next week from the sprint racing format again at Zolder before we've got our week off the week after that. So as far as the schedule goes, so it's Zolder in 1 week's time, round 6. Very much hope that you will join us for that same time, same place, qualifying starting at 10 to 9 UK time. I've been Ewan alongside James Parfitt. Until we see you in Zolder next week, it's goodbye for now.